Hey guys, hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Freedom Fanatics. Alex, Tiego, thanks for being here today. Guys, we're really excited for this week's episode. We've got a lot to speak about and a lot to talk about. I think we're gonna get straight into things. So, as you guys might have seen on your social media platforms, on the news, rather unfortunate news breaking, which is that Eskom has once again implemented blackouts, as I like to call them, because load shedding seems way too nice. And Eskom has once again announced this news, and not only has it been announced that it would be stage four, but just recently, a few minutes ago, I think news broke that it's actually stage six, which is up to 4 hours of load shedding that we will experience. Some of the reasons for Eskom suddenly now announcing these blackouts occurring is that there has been strikes occurring with regards to Eskom's workers, and unions have been involved as well with this. Because they've been saying that they've been working so hard to keep Eskom running, to keep the country electrified, as the word is used. But yeah, and they have demanded for more wages to be implemented. They want higher wages, more benefits, and it has caused disruptions and at multiple of South Africa's major power stations. And with them, workers is refusing to come in and putting in the hours. And unfortunately, we are suffering under the consequences of their actions. But yeah, Tiego, so what do you make of the situation happening at Eskom? And as it seems that the crisis is just getting worse.
Open up the market for the private sector to produce electricity. Do that immediately. We are in a crisis. Our economy is on the brink of a collapse. We need for this to happen now. The Democratic Alliance, together with other parties, have already called for the government to declare this as a national disaster. I agree fully. Do that immediately. Declare the national disaster. Allow provinces, allow local governments to bring in the private sector and start supplying electricity to the residents in that way. We cannot take this anymore. We simply cannot. That's my whole take. I think that should happen now, really, and citizens. It's high time that citizens become angry and stand up against the government. This is quite an abusive government, and we quite clearly know what should happen. And yeah, that's my whole take around the matter. It's frustrating, I think. Sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you, Tico. I mean, like things are already tough in this country, and it appears, as Mbali would usually say, that tough times are lasting, which is a very unfortunate occurrence. But Alex, what are your thoughts surrounding the Eskom strikes and even maybe the role that the trade unions are playing? I mean, because now we are suffering the even worse while they think they are doing something very brilliant, to something really nice for them. But the rest of the country, approximately 60 million people, are unfortunately striking, experiencing this devastation while the rest are striking. Yeah.
You know what? I think honestly, this strike is our waving flag. You know the flag, the 22 million flag that they wanted. Ubuntu, Rainbow Nation. We're going to come together, unite. I don't think there's anything that unites people more than load shedding. It is honestly the most frustrating thing that has ever come from a ruling party, and a country, and the I heard yesterday that the minimum raise that the workers at Eskom want would cost Eskom 720 million rand a year extra. And it's just you know what, I understand the need to increase your salary by to match CPI. That's fine, I get that. How many of us have taken hits? You know what I mean? Like and I'll leave it there. But like we are all suffering. We hear your concerns, but also it's illegal. The strike is not legal. they had to get an interdict on Friday to get the strike to end, because electricity and power stations are national key points. Now they have to bring in security guards to protect these power stations. It's like, it's it's bordering
Yeah.
on local terrorism, honestly.
Yes, no, that's exactly true, because even I find really ironic that it's the workers who are striking when reports have come out. I mean, Eskom CEO, under the Reiter, many of the most prominent leaders in Eskom have all come out and said, you know what, by some of our power stations, we've actually experienced sabotage, workers purposefully destroying equipment, workers, deciding to not work properly in the required hours, negligence, all these type of things. And that's why I find it very ironic that it's the very workers then who turn around and are like, you know what, even though we've actually been the ones creating the sabotage, under the constraint, we are still the same ones who are going to demand better. Do you think there's some sort of form of entitlement in that? Or do you think that the concerns are right, and you know what they're standing for is correct?
Sure, there's a video I stumbled upon. It must have been yesterday or the day before yesterday on Facebook. It's a video of the current president of Malawi, and it was really a short video of a speech that he had delivered, whereby he fired one of his ministers, one of the ministers in his cabinet, because she was fingered in reports and allegations around stealing of money during the COVID season. And in his speech, he said that he's going to run after every politician, every administrator, everyone who works in the state, including the cleaner, from the very cleaner to the security guard to the admin officer to the lower management, middle management, and everything. That's precisely what has to happen in South Africa at this point. We are being sabotaged, right? We are being sabotaged a lot of times, and we are being sabotaged by fellow citizens of ours. But we must begin to see them as more than just fellow citizens who are innocent, who are victims of crimes by politicians. We must begin to see these people as the terrorists that they are. We are trying to build a nation here. We are trying to build a country with every little resource that we have. These people, we need clear leadership that's going to deal with these people, from the cleaner to the security to everything, as the president of Malawi has said. It's entitlement, but more than anything, it's criminality at its very core. These are criminals. These really are criminals who are sabotaging our nation building and country building project. And if we take ourselves seriously and our future seriously, we must deal with them appropriately.
Sholan, if I can just add to what Tiego was saying, we mustn't forget the policies behind these kind of issues is preferential procurement, BE being weaponized to bring in people who are not competent. There's a massive skills shortage at Eskom. These are people who are just there to chow. That's all they're there to do. And this is, when I'm actually, in a way, like the more load shedding happens, the angrier people get. And I think the more likely people are to actually go and exercise their voices at the ballot boxes. So when you go and vote, you think, okay, load shedding sucks. Why does it happen? Bad policies, bad procurement policies, and sort of that sort of nepotism and corruption. That's what you're voting for. You don't want load shedding. You vote out the cause of the rot.
Yeah, exactly. And no, absolutely, Alex. And I think that load shedding is one of those issues, political, social issues that actually allows a lot of people to rally around it. Because I mean, it doesn't matter which party you vote for, whether you just sit on the sidelines and just observe the political scene, you cannot defend load shedding occurring in this country. Absolutely not. And the funny thing I see, especially when going on social media, I usually see these ANC voters are usually the ones who are like, hey, load shedding is so trash and this is so terrible. But I'm like, guys, I know you are active participant in our democracy. Be careful and be vigilant for the party you vote for. Because I mean, load shedding is not a it didn't occur in a vacuum. Like this has been a trend that has occurring, and there has been one party put in charge to solve it, even though they were the ones to create it. So that's a really weird situation to be in.
So I was watching an interview with JJ Tabane recently on Podcast and Chill with Mac G, and he was saying that they were saying like, no, young people aren't. Mac G was saying, young people don't care about politics, and Tabane was basically saying that that's not true. Young people are very interested in politics. They are not interested in party politics. And then he said, the thing is, whether you like it or not, politics, whether you do politics or not, politics happens to you. This is politics happening to you. So it's, you know what I mean? So it's really like, and there's nothing more detrimental to this country and its future prospects than load shedding. Honestly, like, okay, we can have riots on a big scale, sure, but you know what I mean. But yeah, really, like politics is always happening to you, whether you like it or not. Unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, guys, no, that's very true and very insightful. And yeah, but I think we can move on to some much more better news. News that I found very enlightening and rather inspiring is out of this article by Business Insider, and the title is "This 24-year-old opened a steel company during the hard lockdown, and now this company is valued at 7.5 million rand." And I mean, that is no joke, my guy. Like, being able to not only start a business during load shedding when so much government policy is heavy on you, but then also to not let that business just achieve a minimum type of success, but then reach the value of almost 7 million. That is quite a success. And Alex, I know that you have very strong views on how, hurtful and very oppressive rather policy such as the lockdown was on South Africa, and how we definitely can't allow that to occur given the country's situation right now. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think you know what and Tiego's flagged stories before of people who've started Chisanyamas and all sorts of stuff with next to nothing. And the idea here, but the thing that stuck out for me here is how he this gent basically started working in a steel engineering company after school, and he just got a lot of his knowledge through working at the thing. He had the opportunity to work and learn. It wasn't a formal training. It wasn't, Friesman's fall, I want to go to campus, I want to study this. It wasn't like, okay, cool, I need NASFAS or whatever. He was just like, that's what he did. Like, I don't know necessarily his personal background, but he went somewhere and he learned, he got skills, and he started a company. Surely that's something we can scale,
Yeah, absolutely. That's something we should actually be inspiring towards, I think. But unfortunately, in some cases, Alex, even and Tiego, is that while I was reading through the social media posts and reading the comments, and my initial expectation was like, I thought everybody would be this excited that the young entrepreneur was able to make a success in South Africa situation. But some of the comments that I saw underneath this article was rather people not really being that supportive. One, he was accused of having, white privilege, and of course he got a whole lot of trust fund money, and people were actually ridiculing his success. And Diego, what are your thoughts on that? Especially when it's like, people think that, oh no, the only way that you can reach this type of entrepreneurial success, it must be accounted somehow possibly to privilege or a trust fund, where clearly in this case, this was a hard-working guy who obviously, put in the hours to actually reach this point. And that's something we should celebrate.
Definitely. Well, some of these people, I'm very convinced that some of them are naturally dishonest and disingenuous, right? Mischievous as well. We can take it that far. But I think the young man should ignore them and carry on with his business. Those who want to continue focusing on things that don't make logical sense, who want to continue being fools, really, should stay there at being fools. Those like this young men who want to work hard, who want to provide for themselves, their family members, create jobs for the people. Let's carry on building and hope that those who are focused on things that don't even make logical sense will eventually come along and move with us in the same direction. I think we tend to waste too much time, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Trying to prove these people correct that 1 + 2 doesn't add to 4, it actually adds to 3. And it's really a waste time. Let's focus on building the economy. Let's focus on opening businesses. Let's focus on creating employment and finding solutions to problems in our society. Those who are just talking, it's fine, man. They'll eventually eat their talk. Let's focus on building the economy, I think.
Yeah, I mean, things are so tough. We really cannot be discouraging young people from, being being entrepreneurs, being innovators, being job creators. I don't think we should, in any circumstance, be discouraging anybody from doing that. Especially if it's legal means, and especially if it's in an honorable manner. That's type of behavior that should be encouraged. I can't agree with you more, Tiego. Alex, before we head out to burning questions, do you have any last thoughts for us on that?
I think what would be an interesting exercise is to take these Twitterati couch people, take them with their phones, with their Twitter, go and visit the families of the people who this guy has created jobs for, and ask them what they think about his privilege or his trust fund or whatever. Go and see how if they care. What must they go and what must they go and get a SASSA grant instead? Like what must happen? What are you doing to help people get jobs? Like it's an empty argument. It's like and it's I agree with Tiego. It's you got to stop giving those people airtime. Let them. You can't buy bread with complaints. You can buy you know what I mean. Words are useless. Go this Oku's business is worth 7.5 million. Yeah, he's going on a nice end of year holiday despite everything that's going on here.
Yeah, no, absolutely, guys. So to the naysayers, guys, please step up and match your words with action. It's positive action in that sense. So yeah, absolutely, guys. Thanks for your insight and all of your opinions on things happening in our country right now. I hope you guys found that entertaining. And but up next we are going to go over to burning questions, and Mbali's waiting for us, and I know that we got another fiery episode lined up, so I can't wait to hear from Bali. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and see you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Burning Questions. Hi Alex, hi Sholan, hi Tiego.
Hi, Paula.
Guys, me and Sholan have this beautiful hoodies produced by Fan. And I pretty think these hoodies are quite good and they look very nice and warmish. Alex, please tell them more about our hoodies and where they can get them. I don't know if you have that information in hand, but I trust you.
I do. Yeah, so we are busy. We have recently launched a range of hoodies, and they're on the Fan website, so you can find them there. We are not selling them as such yet, but we are at the moment just gauging interest, seeing if it's something that you guys are keen on having, and they feature some of our most prominent quote cards that have performed really well, that have really resonated with you guys at home. So head over to freedomadvocacy.net, have a look, and just let us know if you're keen on having one. And as soon as they as soon as our site is ready to go, you'll be the first to know. We'll add you to a mailing list, and you can get your hands on one of them. So yeah, but I believe they're more summer vibes. They're not like, for when there's load shedding and there's no heaters in the house.
Yeah, but if you're a cool kid, you will know how to utilize it, during this winter. So yeah, man, get yourself a cool fan hoodie, and yeah, man, drip is forever. And I think those are cool hoodies. So guys, let's get into our burning questions segment. And our code card this week comes from Martin van Staden, and the code card basically says ANC socialist thinking is crushing South Africa's future. Without a doubt, I 110 and 30% agree. And I think the first comment, it comes from Marcel, and Marcel definitely agrees. He or she or they, I don't know their gender, and I don't want to gender people. So they say, or they add, and they are destroying in all aspects this once beautiful and fully functioning country. Another African country that is going to the dogs, for example, is Zimbabwe, Angola, and Mozambique. But I think here we're focusing on South Africa mainly, and the damage that the ANC has done or is doing rather. Sholan, thoughts on this code card from Martin?
Yeah, no. When I saw this code card on social media, it obviously performed very well because it resonated with a lot of people and the thoughts of many people. And I absolutely agree with Martin in this regard. And the Marcel and the countries that they listed, because socialism has been tried in many countries and clearly it has not worked. In Zimbabwe, Angola and Mozambique, like there's been socialist tendencies in those countries, and it has definitely caused more havoc than it has been helpful. And I mean, an example of socialism is centralized control. And as we just spoke, economically, our country is suffering under Eskom, which has centralized electricity in this country. And as we can see, centralization does not work.
Yeah. Guys, wait, quick question. Eskom obviously was around since the days of apartheid, right? Does anyone have information of how it was running, or any like idea how it was running prior to 1994 and the ANC's mess up?
Yeah, actually, one of the articles, I'll be short, but one of the articles that I've read is that during apartheid, so the apartheid government was a very nationalist, right-leaning government, and when it's right-leaning, it's usually called fascism, but it's very similar to socialism. It's just the other side of the aisle, essentially. And during that time, Eskom was also under the apartheid government, and Eskom was actually, despite its centralization, it was supposedly one of the leading electricity generators in Africa. That's why we still, to this day, supply some of our neighboring countries with electricity. But eventually, during that time, I think the apartheid government were very afraid that they saw that if they allow everybody to just generate the electricity however, wherever, they will be less reliant on the National Party. And I think that the ANC has a similar fear actually occurring right now, that people will see no need for the ANC anymore if they can just manage the electricity by themselves.
Yeah, okay, that is interesting. That thought just came now because of this comment that comes from Matlatsi, and he says, I think he was shouting in this comment because he says, I don't want to hear any single white person trying to blame the ANC. These problems didn't create themselves, but they were created by you. The ANC is blindly trying to clean your mess, but because of financial resources at your disposal, you pay and intimidate them to fail. Tiego, I'll give this one to you, comrade. Go wild. Please respond to Mutlatsi.
Well, in responding to Mutlatsi, I think I should ask Alex a question. Alex, who did you pay at Eskom?
Let's
I
start
mean, he's a
there,
white
actually.
individual, and apparently white
Oh.
individuals play these people. How much do you
Paying
pay
them to
them?
intimidate.
Yes, if people knew how much we earn at Fan, we don't have money to pay officials at Eskom, let me tell you. But yeah.
Yeah, well,
Alex, did you pay Guedim Tase? I'm just checking. I'm just
Bro.
making sure you paid that ANC comrade.
Yeah.
that one is busy with these people, probably in Rustenburg or Begersford, taking all the mining rights. But let's carry on to other discussions. Well, I think on my part, Bali, I think it's obviously nonsensical what Mutlati does say. Here is Alex. Here we have demonstrated that Alex is a white guy and he hasn't paid.
But
a single
Alex is
cent
a
in
born
this-
free. Maybe Mutlatsi is referring to Alex's parents. Alex, no shade, please, man. You know?
Well, sure, go ahead, Sholan. I think you raised your hand. Well, I was about to say that I think what Mutlati is probably referring to, and he or she is quite wrong actually, but
Yeah.
I think they are probably referring to how Eskom operated during the apartheid times. They would supply electricity to the white population and not to the black population. So I guess he or she is probably trying to speak about that whole thing of now getting into 1994 and having to move from supplying electricity to the minority of the people now to everyone in the nation. It becomes a difficult thing, right? But at the very center of the failure of Eskom is not the fact that they were expanding Eskom from supplying a small group of people to now supplying a large group of people with electricity. At the center is the issue of incompetent workers. At the center is the issue of infrastructure that's not well maintained. At the center is the issue of new infrastructure that was built by the post-apartheid government. And a lot of times the quality of material used to build that infrastructure was quite dodgy. And it's failing quite a lot. So it's a nonsensical argument in that sense. But I do hear where they are probably trying to come from, but it doesn't change the fact that it's still a nonsensical argument to make.
Definitely. It definitely is. Maybe Alex, what I think what not annoys me, but what is very weird for me in this comment is the part where he says the ANC is blindly trying to clean your mess. How is the ANC trying to clean anything? I think they're literally putting back the rubbish into the house.
Yeah, man. And I don't know. Like, what are we seeing? Now we're seeing sabotage. So maybe cleaning the mess means pulling down infrastructure. I don't know. Like,
probably.
But I think we spoke about on Freedom Fanatics how you've got to look past the naysayers. But I think, like, let me put it like this. Between the four of us and Mutlatsi, I'm pretty sure we all want the same things. We want a country that works. We want electricity 24/7 with a guarantee that it will be provided. Resorting to like shooting the messenger doesn't help anyone.
Yeah.
Really, it doesn't help anyone's cause. So that would just be my comment to that.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe let's go to the last comment. It is from Stefan, and they say global liberal capitalism is killing South Africa with wholesale theft of our resources by corporations, banking cartels, industry, military complex, and global blah blah blah. Don't know what that word is. The ANC and the DA are all corporate sponsored by political parties and they are puppets dancing to their tune. Maybe the first thing, I think this person they're probably high or something. I don't know. No, damn, no, they weren't high. The first part, global liberal capitalism is killing South Africa. Sholan, Alex, you guys can take that. Are they high on something when they speak about global liberal capitalism killing South Africa?
I don't actually think it's global liberal capitalism, as they say, capitalism or liberalism, that has been killing South Africa. I think it's the only thing currently saving South Africa from actually going towards dire straits, because the opposite of socialism is, in fact, capitalism. And And therefore, I think that we have constantly seen throughout the world globally that countries that respect freedom, respect, the economic and personal freedoms that we have, those are countries that always tend to succeed. But countries that follow the alternative, which is socialism, those countries do not survive in the context in the world because clearly their policies or whatever does not work. About this comment also, Alex, before I hand over to you, is that I will say in Bali, is that when he speaks about banking cartels and corporations and industrial military companies, all of these things, I'm not saying that is wrong, like maybe these things exist, but I will also say that we shouldn't be looking for boogeymen under the bed every time, because I must tell you this, that there is a party that has political power in this country, and when it comes to politics, those are the decision makers. So no matter the influence, they still have a decision to make. So we shouldn't take accountability away from them and to a banking cartel while they are the ones that still have political power. So it's more of a dribble and distract, in my opinion. Yeah, Alex.
No, I think Sholan's handled that a lot more diplomatically than I would. And I think the thing, like I agree with the boogeyman theory, guys. The causes are in our grasp. We know what the problems are. We don't have to look for some, I don't want to say conspiracy, but some highfalutin boogeyman thing. Guys, the problem's there. We can vote it out. It's not rocket science, this one.
Yeah, definitely. And I have a good feeling about 2024. Yes,
I just couldn't help reacting to Sholan's facial reactions to while you're reading the comments. So I think that kind of gave it away.
It kind of did. And maybe Tiego, last thoughts, but I do definitely think that Stefan is a proper socialist. I think he is.
I think so as well. I think to say that global liberal capitalism is killing South Africa is to say that South Africans are really not capable of thinking, not capable of being creative, not capable of creating anything, because essentially the global liberal capitalism market is a competitive market whereby demands on products there is a demand for products, and if a country and its people are able to respond to that demand, then that's good. The country's economy gets to grow and everything of that nature. So I think what has failed is South Africa and us as residents to compete at that global scale, to compete in that market. We really need to industrialize as much as possible, and we need to start producing stuff and selling to the market. Let's compete. Let's start with Eskom, as we have discussed today. Let's start with Eskom, open up that market. Let's compete. Let's see what South Africans come up with. They might come up with innovative stuff that might assist even the globe as a whole, which would be great. And so, yeah, I think it's an insult. I think it's an insult, but we really do need to pick up our socks and really begin to compete in that global market.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, I think we've come to the end of our episode. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll catch you same time, same place on Tuesday, 6 p.m. And yeah, do remember, your freedom is worth fighting for.